Yeah. Late night in Somerville, shadows flicker and play. Whispers of a crime, but the truth lost its way. A horrific crime, the silence sharp as a knife. Janet on the floor, a brutal end to a lie. Pinning it on a kid who didn't stand a chance. Eddie at 15, caught in a circumstance. Hey, no blood on his clothes, no stains on his feet. But Thomas Riley schemes beneath the heat. Oh, a plan in his head, climbing high with disdain, using power and a case, feeding off the pain. Can we keep it real? Yes, we can. We can. Locked away a boy, destroyed a young man. Can we keep it real? Look at the frame. Riley hid the truth just to build up his name. Blocked out the facts, they buried the proof. But we stand right here, demanding the truth. Can we keep it real? Yes, we can. They locked away a boy and destroyed a young man. Yeah. You know where I stand? Yeah, these walls echo my name, but they don't know my truth. Captured in the frame, but my spirit's bulletproof. Took my freedom away, but couldn't silence my call that whispered in the night. I'm innocent after all.
I am still here, hear my voice, can't you see? I rise with the sun, can nobody bury me? I am still here, in my heart, can't you feel? Truth runs deep within, it's the only thing that's real.
Yeah. Counting down the years, but seasons on pause. Watch my dreams fade like lake behind bars. Hope is my anchor, a lifeline in this storm. Warmed by time, but my spirit won't conform.
They label me a ghost, but my heart's still alive. The weight of a crime that I never contrived. No truth could change me, no lie could erase who I am inside, rooted deep in this place. Every sunrise whispers justice will find a way.
I keep my head high, living for that day.
Those who believe, thank you for seeing me.
The man beyond the walls, longing to be free. Refuse to let bitterness define my legacy. Instead I hold faith, letting hope set me free. One day these gates will swing wide, truth will walk with pride. And when that moment comes, I'll be standing side by side.
Until that day arrives, I stand tall in my fight. Keep saying who I am, voice echoing through the night. I carry my story, it's far from over now. A heart of resilience, I'll show you just how.
I am he, and he is me. I am innocent. You see,
my story's still being written.
one day
I shall be free.
I'll chase the dawn, I'll seek the light. I won't back down. With every step I take,
I'm claiming solid ground.
yeah.
What's up, everybody? How we doing? What's going on? Just give me a minute. I'm trying to get a few things together. What is going on, everybody, man? Welcome, Miss Patricia White, Courtney. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You know, we're going to continue some of the juvenile transfer hearing today. That we was talking about yesterday. And if you guys think of anything you want me to talk about, and I also have a couple emails that I received about oh my god, all these stupid things. Couple emails that I received. One from the Somerville Times. That ain't what I was calling stupid. The renewal letters for the computer. The antivirus stuff. One of our mods sent us something that I have seen a while. I have read it a couple times, and it's an article that was clipped from the Boston Globe and one from the Somerville Times. And I also want to remind, let's see, how many, we'll get some more people in here first. We also have the August 7th date, in Somerville at the VFW. Show up for that. I'm going to pull that up in a second. A sneak peek. We'll call it a pre-screen into the Eddie O'Brien documentary. So we're gonna see the footage that people were raving about. We're going up, getting upset about. We're gonna see that footage. So, all right, I got to erase something here. We'll go over here. We'll put it in the Eddie O'Brien folder. My bad. Y'all probably wasn't even hearing me, huh? I'm sorry, leave y'all in the dark. My bad, totally. I was talking about this first look screening. But since y'all had. Y'all probably couldn't even hear me. That's a shame. That's my stupidity. We can hear you now. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. See, I be dropping the ball, But I've been up all night working, driving, delivering all them nasty donuts. I think they're nasty. I see them all night long. It's like I don't even want to look at a donut. But I was thinking, I was actually talking to, a friend of mine who, a former correctional officer, and we was talking about back in the 90s, when the system wasn't just broken, I would say it was hunting, you know, um, Rhode Island, especially Rhode Island, like I can speak for Rhode Island, Rhode Island, them prisons is stayed crowded. I mean, wall to wall, men stacked like they were inventory. The police were out there just picking anybody up. It didn't really matter. Society didn't ask questions, and I don't think society really cared back in the 90s, not like it is today. It shows me I got two people in here. I know there's more than two people. I don't get it. I know there's more than two people, but I think at one point before we got like Karen Reed and stuff, and once you were stamped a convict, I think you stop being a person in a lot of society's eyes. I know the O'Briens probably feel differently about it now, but I don't think a lot of people stop to think that inmates, convicts, whatever you want to call them, we were people first, they're people also. They're men who make mistakes, and some men made like maybe one bad mistake. You know what I mean? And they're paying for it with years of their life. And some men made many bad mistakes and they're where they belong. And then there's also men like Eddie O'Brien that never did the crime at all. And people like that, Eddie Wright, Eddie O'Brien, people that were wrongly convicted of these crimes. And another thing I want to talk about, remind me if I forget, that I don't think it matters where you are. I don't think it matters if you're from Massachusetts. I don't wear this hat because it got a B on it to impress y'all. You know, I mean, no, I'm New England. I mean, Boston goes way beyond Massachusetts. You know what I mean? And Corona goes way beyond Mass. It don't matter if you're from Commonwealth, if you're from New Hampshire. This shit goes everywhere, and you know it shouldn't matter where you're from. But we're gonna get into that a little bit more. Yeah, definitely go to the truthabouteddieobrien.com, and as soon as I get the YouTube on, Denise, I'll pin that as well. And one thing, I'm gonna do a little begging today. I can use them today. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we got some bills coming up, and I was like, oh darn it, But yeah, I could definitely use some memberships today, man. So really appreciate that. I like the membership. More people in tuned, to the podcasts. Super chats are good too, but if you're gonna donate, get the memberships. You know, at least people can have a good use for them. They get something out of it. But but a lot of men, some of us, some of them guys made just like one bad decision. And the way some guys treat people, I mean that it's not really correction. It's like cruelty with uniform. And back in the 90s, I think when the system wanted numbers, they didn't want justice. See that? I like to hear stuff like that. Well, some of the old time correctional officers, where like the guys that been there that came in a long time ago. I mean, usually once some of these correctional officers are there 10 years, they're going on 20 years, they kind of lean back a little bit and they're not about all the rah-rah. They leave that to the young guys. But then the young guys come in and they think they want to treat everybody like shit. Like there was a cop, his name was Lassie. And when Max, he was walking the kids in Max. And there's a picture that I have up here. Let's see. This is actually one of the tiers in Max. Or they all look similar, but he was walking the tiers, right? And at the end of the tier, there's stairs, metal stairs. And so I guess Lassie was walking the tiers. Inmates came up behind Officer Lassie, you know what I mean? Threw a sheet over him and sliced him up. Sliced him up good. And I guess they had paper bags, over their face. They had disguises on. And that happened in maximum security. True story. His name was Seal Lassie. They didn't kill him. I only found out about it because, me and my roommate had this stupid paper bag. It was around Halloween. I little like dressed it up in our cell on top of our TV, used white toilet paper for dreads. And they came in here and they lugged me to seg for 30 days. My roommate made parole, so I took the heat on that one. Oh, appreciate Courtney for the 5 gifted memberships. Really appreciate it. But I think in the 90s, I don't think the mission, it wasn't rehabilitation. You know what I mean? It wasn't accountability. You know what I mean? It definitely wasn't public safety. It was numbers. And I remember back then because, that's when I started being a knucklehead doing stupid things right around 95, 96. You know what I mean? So it didn't care how old you was. They were locking you up. It mattered nada. The more bodies they push through these, through these systems, the more machine keeps spinning. They would lock up anybody they could, whether the shit made sense or not. Men were coming in afraid, confused, still wearing the clothes they were arrested in. You know what I mean? And instead of being met with professionalism, like you would think like some prison guards, they're going to be professional. They were met with disrespect, aggression. They wanted to dehumanize people. And some guys acted like they were trained to break your spirits. I mean, others acted like they were raised without compassion. Like they didn't give a shit about you. They just didn't give a shit at all. Either way, the result was pain. I remember Jesse Souza, getting beat all the way down the damn tier. And I'm not saying that all the gods are bad, right? But the bad ones, oh, they were loud. I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. Not every god was a monster. I'm not gonna say that. There were some really cool ass gods that were down to earth that would bring in stuff for you. That would do shit for you. Even something as easy as a sandwich. You know what I mean? Getting something to eat. But the ones who didn't, man, they were loud, man. And some of them guys treated a lot of these, a lot of us convicts with respect. But the ones who didn't, oh, they were loud about it. They were reckless about it. They were the dangerous ones. They were the ones that have no problem putting their hands on you. And they were dangerous. Because what's gonna happen? You're in prison, right? You're locked up. Who's gonna tell you? They kick your ass too bad. They just throw you in the hole until you heal up. They talk to grown men like they're kids, disrespect, or they talk to you like you're an animal. They push buttons just to watch people snap. Like that's crazy. They'll pit two guys against each other and they'll keep pushing the buttons and they want to see the violence. What's cool about that? They either forget or they never even cared that a lot of these men and women, right, in these cells have families, right? They have dreams, they have mothers, they have brothers. A lot of them were part of, a real ecosystem, a real community before the system got their hands on them. And some of the gods, they're not protecting the facility. You know what some of these guys are protecting? The power. And I think power in the wrong hands is just, it becomes abuse. Straight up abuse. You think about the men like Eddie O'Brien, right? Now let's talk about the ones serving these large sentences, right? For crimes that they never even committed. Wrongful convictions, they're not rare. Do you really think it's an accident, right? You know what wrongful convictions are a result of? Bad investigations. What else? Lazy police work. Tunnel vision. Prosecutors like Riley having tunnel vision. Bullshit science. Coerce, statements being all shock wad. That's what wrongful convictions are made up of. And I think once the system convicts somebody, even if you're innocent, it treats you like you're guilty forever. You know? It treats you like you're guilty forever. These men sit in these cells, right, year after year, watching time pass like a slow funeral, and some waiting for their end date, and not their release date. They're waiting for the day that they expire. Some of these guys miss life. Some of these guys got bad deals. Some of these guys are truly innocent. You know what I mean? But when you try to fight their case, the system tells them either you're too late, you already pled, you already lost. You should have said something sooner. But how are you supposed to fight a machine that was built to ignore you or that was built to punish you? I'm gonna bring my boy on here soon, Michael Gardagno, who did a lot of time as a young kid. Him and his co-defend another friend of mine. Richard Razzo. Rest in peace to him. But I'm gonna bring Mikey on soon. A few other guys. I like to see if I can get some ex-cons to come up here, and tell you how the system was. What they went through, what their experiences were, what was their course. Because people think prison is just bars and concrete, right? But the real punishment is when you're forgotten. You're forgotten by the courts. You know what I mean? You're forgotten by society. You're forgotten by the same system that swears it's about justice. But is it about justice? We're going to get into the Rule 30, I promise. I mean, and the transfer hearing. But some of these men lose decades. Look at Eddie, man. Lose 30 years, 31 years this week, I believe, right? 31 years in a couple of days. Men lose hope. Some of these guys, how do you not lose yourself in 31 years? I don't understand how Eddie O'Brien has not lost himself yet. And the saddest part, right? Some of the strongest men you'll ever meet are the ones who survived wrongfully convictions. The ones that survived these wrongful convictions, and I'm glad that Eddie is going to go for his Rule 30. They held on to truth even when truth don't hold on to them. Imagine that. You believe in truth so much because you're like, I didn't do this, but truth don't want nothing to do with you. What do you do at that point? This is like, this is sad stories because, and as a man, you're crushed. You're like, there ain't nothing I can do, man. Like, no matter what, no matter what can I do? Guys like Eddie O'Brien is saying, what can I do? I'm doing life without parole at 15 years old. And I'm not making excuses, right? It's about humanity at a certain point, because whether a man made a mistake, right, or never did the crime at all, right, he deserves to be treated like a person, right? Not a number, not a W number, not any number, like a person. I get it. They're convicts. They're ward of the state. And some of them people committed the most horrific crimes, and I'm sure they definitely deserve to be where they are. I'm not saying that. Thank you, Courtney, for the 5 gifted memberships. Really appreciate that. I'm not saying that at all, right? They deserve to be treated like a person, right? Wrongfully convicted men, they're not invisible. And the system shouldn't be allowed to keep pretending. This ain't happening, because it is. And I think sometimes it has to be talked about, whether it's 19 people, 90 people. Sooner or later, enough people will catch on. I mean, to every man that lived through incarceration, never mind that. How about surviving the 90s, criminal justice system? Unless you've been through it, you might not understand. I mean, serving time for something that you didn't do, that's tough. Right there. That's tough. And anyone that's been in prison, like they should be able to prove to you fast. It ain't about like where's my paperwork. I mean, and I don't understand the people that lie about it. Oh yeah, I've been here. I've been to Cambridge. I've been to Rikers Island. I've been to the tombs. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand why you lie about it. Like nothing about prison is cool. Nothing about jail is cool. Especially for the guys serving time that didn't do anything, right? Or you have one crazy night and you end up doing 30, 40 years. You know what I mean? Behind some shit. Look at freaking Bobby Cellini, man. Bobby Cellini home with his kid, waiting for his girl Nicole to come home from stripping. You know what I mean? Bobby, they were both crackheads. You know what I mean? Respectfully, Johnny, if you're watching. They were both addicts, so when Nicole comes home, she don't have no money. Bobby flips out, they stop beefing. One thing leads to another. Knife on the counter, knife, boom, stabs her. He gets rid of the murder weapon, whatever. Calls 911, takes it to the hospital. Feels real bad, man. Devastated, the love of his life. Now his son don't have any parents. His dad's in prison doing a life bid. Mom's gone. Rest in peace. Some shit it just goes bad. That's a true story. I mean, let's talk about the men who never should have even been behind those walls, like the Eddie O'Briens, the Eddie Wrights. Not the ones that made mistakes, right? How about the ones who slipped up once and paying the price for decades? How about them? Absolutely, man. Free Eddie. You know, I mean, I'm talking about the men who are innocent from day one, like a Eddie O'Brien, like a Eddie Wright, like the Rosa guy. There's so many of them. Beaver Tempest, I'm talking about the men who were innocent from the jump, right? But the system decided they were guilty before the evidence even hit the table. Right? These are the stories I think that society avoids totally. Right? These are the men, right, that the courts forget. These are the lives that the system steals. See, I'm going to give you all the information, whether you listen or not. I just don't understand why more people are not, why YouTube is not pushing the stream, I mean, so it's important to hit the like button all the time. If you haven't hit the like button, back out of the chat, please, and hit that like button. Very important. Hit the like button, share it, because you know what? We need to get this information out there. Because the system, doesn't fail. It targets. These wrongful convictions don't happen by accident, people. You know what I mean? They happen because the system is built to win, right? It ain't built to get it right. You got friggin' bad investigations, you know what I mean? Tunnel vision district attorneys, tunnel vision detectives, you know what I mean? Overworked public defenders, the worst. Prosecutors that are chasing these damn headlines. Junk science, that never should have been allowed in court in the first place. And once they pick somebody, they build a case around that person And that's what Riley did to Eddie O'Brien. It's reverse profiling. And if you're young, if you're poor, if you're from the wrong neighborhood, I know a lot about that. You're already done. You're already halfway convicted before you even step into the police station. Never mind the courtroom. Forget about it. Karen Reed's case showed you all a lot. It showed you that this shit can happen. And Karen Reed was privileged. Karen Reed was very, very privileged. You know? And the moment innocence gets ignored, right? Picture this. Think about this, right? Good afternoon, chat. Free Eddie. What's up, David? How we doing? Think about this, right? A detective decides you're the guy. You know what I mean? You're the one he's looking for, right? So a prosecutor decides that your case is winnable. Oh, he was in the store when it got robbed, right before it got robbed, or whatever. You know, this case is winnable. So a public defender comes along. Hey, how you doing? Not even looking you in the eye in the cell block, talking to you. You know, and basically they already decide they don't even have time for this case. But he has to take it anyway, right? And now the judge damn well decides, right, that the trial needs to move faster. God damn, man, you're just selling me up the friggin' river. So you got a detective that says you're the guy because he don't have time for this shit, right? You was in the store, bang, you was on at the scene. That's really all they have. They know you was there. You know what I mean? But you got the prosecutor that says, you know what, he was there. We got his fingerprints on the counter. He was there. This is a winnable case. You got a lawyer in a PD's office that thinks you ain't worth the time or day, you know, and they just don't have time for your ass. And then you got a judge that decides, I need to get this trial wrapped up. We got to move faster. What happens to you? And somewhere, wait a minute, and somewhere, before you answer that, and somewhere in that mess, your innocence gets lost. Evidence gets ignored. You see how this can happen? Witnesses get pressured, right? Statements are getting twisted. Are you sure it wasn't him? Are you sure? Are you sure? You know, your fingerprints are there, your DNA's on the counter. Of course you was. You was in there buying a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of soda. You was sweating. It's hot. It's 80 degrees outside. Your DNA is there. And your truth is getting buried under paperwork. What do? Now you're facing 10 to 20 years. Right? By the time the jury walks in, your story's already written. Tell me I didn't just drop something really good. I hope you're picking it up. You know, your story's already written, and you're the villain. You're the villain in a crime that you didn't even commit. Imagine that. Now say this is your son or something. You know what I mean? Like, you know he wouldn't commit this crime. You know he wouldn't go in no store and commit a robbery. And you're going to court with him every day, and you're seeing a prosecutor, a cop that says, yeah, it's him. And you're kind of like, no, it's not. I know my son didn't do that. And it's just that easy, because if the police decide that you're their guy, a prosecutor decides that your case is not winnable, right? A public defender don't have the time of day to win the case, right? And now a judge wants to speed this shit up. Right now, your story's already written, and guess what? You're innocent. You just happen to be in the store. You happen to be in the building. But you didn't do anything. You bought a pack of cigarettes. You bought a soda or a Gatorade. You're sweating. You're dripping over the counter. Your DNA's on the counter. Your fingerprints are on the counter. The detective says, nah, hell no. I don't got time for this shit. I got to get home. They're not paying for overtime. That's my guy. You're under arrest. A prosecutor looks at the case, was like, hell yeah, this is a slam dunk. You get a public defender. Look, yo, I'm innocent. He's like, yeah, you know, we're going to do this and that. They don't do any of that because they already know they don't have a budget or the time to give you a good representation. And then the dirty, rotten judge sees all this, but he says, this trial needs to move faster. We got to clear these dockets. Where's your innocence in all this? Your innocent is just getting lost. You know what I mean? The real evidence is getting ignored. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Witnesses are getting pressured in your case, you know? The detective saying, are you sure it wasn't him? You're sure it wasn't him? And they say it so many times, you halfway friggin' believe it. Your DNA is getting misused. The truth's getting buried, you know, and by the time the friggin' jury walks in, it's over. It's over. You are already a villain in a crime that you never committed, and it happens just like that. Talk about it. Just like that.
Not promote or promotion any illegal activities. All content provided by this channel is meant only for educational purpose only.
In a world made of shadows, where the truth feels far away, you find yourself behind bars for a price you didn't pay. Fight your case with every breath you take, standing on your truth in the face of all this heartbreak. I didn't do this, you shout, but they turn their heads away, ignoring echoes of your innocence. You face another day. And what does the parole board say? Drowning in the protocol. You show no remorse. You're not fitting the role at all. How you gonna take responsibility for a storm you didn't cause? Like blaming someone for the rain just because they were outdoors. The system don't care about your truth, they care about compliance. Confess to a crime uncommitted. That's your only guidance. It's a trapdoor either way. No escape from their design. Parole board wants confessions, not a hint of reason or a sign. Not seeking justice, but looking for neat boxes checked as they mold a simple having your truth wrecked. 20 years in, you still stand tall saying I didn't do this. They don't celebrate your honesty. It's lost in all the mess. How you gonna take responsibility for a storm you didn't cause? Like blaming someone for the rain just because they were outdoors. The system don't care about your truth. They care about compliance. Confess to a crime uncommitted. That's your only guidance. This ain't rehabilitation. Oh, it's coercion without end. How can a man find freedom when guilt is where they pretend? Reality's cruel and innocence turns to liability. Still holding on to truth. Your fight for clarity. So here's to the dreamers behind the steel and stone. Your truth is still your own. You're never alone. The system needs to change. Real remorse it must define. Innocence is not your fault. It's their dark design. Helping you to cope.
Don't forget the first screening, get out there because, limited amount of people. We want to pack this place, right? So as many people be able to see, that film everybody wants to see, get out there to, the trailer for the Commonwealth versus Eddie O'Brien, probably to be named later, right? The documentary is set to dismantle a 30-year-old injustice. You're not going to want to miss this. You're going to see footage that you've never seen before. You can get involved. Every dollar counts. Stand up for what's right. I don't think they're selling tickets, but I think they should sell tickets at the door, maybe $5 or just a donation. And if you don't have it, you don't have it. But as much as we could raise for Eddie O'Brien is the better. Yeah, it's gonna be fun, we'll live stream, auctions. What are we gonna auction off? We'll have to auction off. How about here we go. How about a dinner date with the O'Briens? That would be something nice to auction off, right? A nice dinner date with Ed and Trish O'Brien. Could we auction that off? I bet we can auction that off right now. So that ain't no problem. How about a dinner date with JoJo? Huh? Can we auction that off? You know what? That might not be a bad idea. You know, we can auction off a dinner date with JoJo. You know, dinner with the O'Briens. You know, what else can we auction off? You know, we got some shirts. What else? Let's see. You know, a ride in my antique vehicle. I got an antique car. The address is 351 Summer Street, Somerville, Mass. It should be right on the screen on that paper that is up. It's gonna be it starts at 6 p.m. It starts at 6 p.m., 6 to 10 p.m. You know, but you know, how Ed O'Brien, you like that idea? You know, we can auction a dinner date, you know, with Eddie's Snacks, you know, and you know, about, you know, a dinner date with JoJo, you know, what's up with that? Come on now. I think we're on to something here. You know, that will be great. Watch all the people start coming now. They said, oh, we can get a dinner date with Big Eddie Snacks. Mama O'Brien, you know, you get to talk to them. They're probably going to kill me. He's going to call me. Yeah, like, damn, boy. That would be great, though. I think a lot of people would be down with that auction. Look at that. I got first dibs on Ed O'Brien. Look at that. As long as JoJo is not my dinner date, says Big Ed. You know, but you know, I mean, I think that'll be something else. You know, that'll be something, man. That is great, man. That really is. You know, what's better than that? You know, matter of fact. So let's get into I think we talked a lot yesterday about he said we're gonna have a talk, Mikey. See what I started, man, you know? What do they say? This live streaming stuff, you know? I'll own that one. You know?
Gotta get the funds up.
Gotta make that money somehow. Gotta get that money somehow. One second. Give me 1 minute. I'll be right back.
Cellmark, your chosen lab expert in the game. Tested the blood, telling the world the name. Eddie O'Brien, they said with conviction, but the truth came out like a hidden addiction. DNA tested, but what court did it show? Excluded my man in that courtroom flow. Not a maybe, not a doubt, they sealed the fate. How you sell that story when the evidence won't wait? Stabbings and chaos, the narrative spins, but the DNA's whispering, where do we begin? You're trying to pin the blame, but you're missing the mark. Eddie's outside, lit up, nothing but dark. Can't blame the dog when it wasn't even home. This ain't a fair fight, Eddie's been alone. The night's truth waiting can't seal Eddie's fate. How do you even tell when facts slip away? We dance round the lies like the night turns to day. Lights dim down, jury on pause in the courtroom theater. I'm just a part of the cause. You're trying to pin the blame, but you're missing the mark. Eddie's outside, lit up, nothing but dark. Can't blame the dog when it wasn't even home. Ain't a fair fight, Eddie's been alone. Oh, chaos in the streets, but the truth won't die. You can try to twist the knife, but look me in the eye. Exclusions in the lab, but you still wanna shout. Did it run through your veins? What's this all about? You're trying to pin the blame, but you're missing the mark. Eddie's outside, lit up, nothing but dark. You believe in the shadow, but the light's never wrong. Eddie O'Brien's excluded, that's where you belong. How you gonna sell that story? Leave him out in the cold, in the echoes of justice. The truth's always bold.
All right, there we go. We back. When we talked yesterday, we were talking about the juvenile transfer hearing. You know, and I think we ended it talking about basically the old way, you know, back in 1996 versus what it is like now. You know, back then science was like prehistoric. You know, kids were treated like many adults, you know, with bad decision making skills. You know, today things are different. They look at the science. They would not talk to experts back then. Today, experts is like mandatory. So there's a lot different, you know, and in the truth about Eddie O'Brien, you know, if you go to that website, there's like so much information in there, you know, Eddie's own words, you know, stuff about the DNA, you know, basically everything you need that basically proves Eddie's case. And Eddie said at that parole hearing that, you know, if you look at the evidence, you know, look at the evidence and the evidence will prove itself. If you look at Riley's notes, you look at Riley's notes and stuff, you know, and he basically like breaks it all down, gives you a blueprint, you know, to how basically to frame this kid. It's like you've never seen anything like it. The paperwork from Selmark, with the fingernails, with the clip-ins, the the hilt, everything is explained. And I would always go back to, like, there isn't really much that I can debunk. I really don't know what. I mean, you go over all the evidence and stuff and everything. There's really not much to debunk. But that 96 transfer hearing, how it was then to how it is now, and like I said, in 1996, a 15-year-old kid sitting at this big defense table, barely old enough to, can't even drive, never mind have a beer, I mean, facing a charge that could, put him under the damn jail, right? But back then, the juvenile justice system, they didn't care about science. They didn't care about brain development, all that trauma, whatever. It was about politics. You know what I mean? Public pressure. What a transfer hearing was in 1996 is not what it is today. Can this kid be saved? Or do we throw him into the adult court and hope prison, takes care of him? That's how it was back then. They didn't care. Just throw him in a cage. Let someone else deal with him. How about the kid's history? Whether the juvenile system could even rehabilitate them by the time they was 21. And the judge had a lot of discretion. They didn't look at science, and kids were treated like adults. The judge had all the discretion. So, you got to think kids were getting locked up left and right. I got sent this. We'll check this out. Second. This is yeah, we'll definitely check this out. Hey, what's going on here? All right, my bad. Let me get that out of here. Well, the books won't be ready, I think, till like August 25th. I busted my butt for 7 months on this case. Good case, right? Great case. I'm going to bring up this article. Let me get this down right now. Have you guys checked out the Eddie Wright podcast that I did? I think that was pretty good. If anyone could get me in touch with Eddie Wright, which I shouldn't even be saying that out loud because. All right, where is it? So this right here was written by I don't know if they was a reporter or if they lived in the neighborhood. Yes, it's August 7th. So this right here was Politics of Murder. It was written on January 27th, 2017 by the Somerville Times. You know, what really happened in Somerville. And it basically, late on a hot and muggy July night in 1995, my girlfriend and I were returning from the Assembly Square Cinema to our Summit Ave apartment. Flashing lights from a massive police, fire, EMS vehicles assaulted us as we turned onto Boston Street. My neighbor, Gina Mahoney, whom I've since come to know and cherish, was sitting on her front porch. She and the cigarette she was holding were shaking. We continued home with deep feelings for Biden. So it looks like, Somerville's hot, muggy, same police lights paint the streets red and blue. Neighbors are outside, shaking their heads, confused, terrified. He goes on basically to say that Janet has been murdered brutally within hours. The Middlesex DA's office charges her son's 15-year-old best friend, Eddie O'Brien. State police detectives assigned to Middlesex Tom Riley office were taking over the investigation. Hours later, police charge Eddie O'Brien. Imagine that, hours later. They charge Eddie O'Brien. Unbelievable. The 15-year-old best friend of Janet Downing's son, who lived across the street. At that point, they stopped investigating, except to support the theory Eddie's guilt. In fact, they declined to accept material testimony that contradicted that theory, and the collective evidence of Eddie's innocence was in compelling and clear, unadored prose. Margot Nash lays it out in her recently published book, The Politics of Murder. Miss Nash was a trial attorney assigned by the court to be Eddie's guardian, basically a gal. A court officer appointed to advocate for the best interest of a child in the justice system. Here is a portion of the evidence. Janet killed, beat, dragged her up and down the stairs, stabbed her 98 times, removed her bra, sliced it 36 times, and put it back on her. But eyewitnesses establish that Eddie was in the house only 5 to 7 minutes. The attack sprayed blood across the stairs and walls, pooling on the floor. But the clothes that eyewitnesses agree Eddie wore before and after the murder had no blood on them. Now think about what I just said. According to the article, right? Absolutely. Nah, the book won't be available till like the 25th. Nope, this is not a book signing. The book was they couldn't be ready in time for the book signing. Oh, well, they couldn't be ready to release the books. They was hoping the books had to go on sale, I think July 28th, and I believe like the end of August, the books will probably be out to get them done right, so they'll be correct. Don't worry, it'll be worth the wait from what I gather, but you will see a documentary, a sneak peek of the Eddie O'Brien documentary, 30 years breaking this case down. And this documentary will be the beginning to prove Eddie's innocence. Yep, very messed up, corrupt case. It was going to be, but the book wasn't going to be ready in time. We found out at the last minute that the book wasn't going to be ready by July 28th in time for this event. So instead of canceling the event, they're still going to go ahead and have the event and just have a showing of the movie, a sneak peek of it, of the documentary that was done by, I think, what's his name, Rob? So really, the article, you get back to that. According to this, detectives ended up blocking onto Eddie right away, and they just refused to consider anything that didn't fit their story, right? Even witnesses that tried to give, like Gina Mahoney, that tried to give, other information, were all ignored. Evidence didn't match. Eddie was never followed up, and I think the guy that wrote this is laying out several points from what I see, right? That Eddie was in the house only a couple minutes, right? What, 5 to 7 minutes? But the red room involved a prolonged violent struggle. Come on. You really think all that could happen in 7 minutes? His clothes had no blood on them, despite being sprayed across walls and stairs. You seen the pictures, right? Like, there was blood everywhere. DNA, right, on the weapon, come to find out, was not Eddie's DNA. And that's why, like, what can we debunk, right? All this stuff that we're saying is basically proof. There is no other way to go besides free Eddie. Proud to say it. DNA under the victim's fingernails, right, was never identified. You know what I mean? And Eddie was excluded. And now you got a man with keys to the house, right, that's involved in drug activity, right, who was seen entering the home frequently. Oh yeah, his cab's always parked outside the house. Thank you for the $10. Really appreciate that, man. Every dollar definitely goes a long, long way. I'm so grateful to every dollar that I receive. Thank you. But the cab was parked right beside the house the night of the crime. Right, let's get back to the article. So you got DNA on the alleged to be the weapon. It was identifiable, but it wasn't Eddie's. And the prosecutor chose not to identify the DNA under Janet Downing's fingernails, as well as other DNA and fingerprints found at the scene. Why is that? Why would the prosecutor, after finding out that Eddie is excluded, why would he say, you know what, don't test nobody else? That's in his notes. Don't test nobody else. You know, why? You ever think about that? And you know that 4 months before the murder, it says that Janet had asked her sister and brother in law to beat feet. You gotta go. I don't know where you gotta go, but you gotta go. It's like, I can't sleep on your couch no more. Yeah, where you want me to bring the couch? Sleep on it all you want. Janet said they have to go. You know, and she asked her sister and brother, Adi Ortiz, that's right, Adi, to move out and beat feet. You know what I mean? After she discovered that Adi, you know what I mean, nickel bag Sally, was dealing, allegedly, out of the basement. Ortiz declined to return the keys, so that's why you don't see no forced entry. Now, Gina Mahoney observed Ortiz entering the house in Janet's absence, right? Items in the house started disappearing and were moved, right? So Adi taunted Janet by handing her a book that he had taken from her bedstand. This was a book that was getting her over, you know, her horrible marriage. You know, and we know how her husband treated her, and that's why I say that, you know, respect to Janet. But the night of this crime, the cab, right, that Ortiz drove was parked next to the Downing's house, right? And then it got blocked in by emergency vehicles. I think if you go look at the pictures on Sherry Lee's Facebook page, and I think Dan Hardy ended up verifying that where the black car was where the cab was, and that's the perfect spot to come out the bushes. Bang, you know, that's where the blood was on the ground. You know, Gina observed him coming in and out of the house doing crazy, crazy, strange things, right? The night of the crime, the cab he drove was parked next to Janet's house, up where the bushes were. Right? On the day of the murder, Janet expressed her fears about Ortiz and begged Gina to ensure the police would investigate if she were killed. Imagine that. She knew some shit was going to happen. She knew this shit was going down. Gina, who was stalked by Ortiz, right, after the crime, tried to present her evidence to the police, right? And they didn't want to hear it. They was like, nah, we're straight. Police declined her many attempts to be interviewed. That's not even right. The murder came at a time of public. Oh, I skipped the whole part. Of course I did. Police declined her many attempts to be interviewed, nor did they interview Virginia Reckley, who lived in the apartment that shared a wall with Janet. That's crazy. Like in the same building. Reckley had heard a commotion in a Downing residence at a point during the short time window when the murder could have taken place, which was like 8:30ish. And when witnesses established that Eddie was somewhere else, right? So the police, right? No, they didn't even interview Adi Ortiz at that time. They find out Eddie wasn't even around at that time. And guess what? The jury heard none of that shit. You know why? Because DA Tom Riley found a politically advantaged defendant that he could take advantage of. And Eddie's counsel, they weren't competent at all. very horrible defense. Eddie had so much, like, he looked up to them lawyers, man, like they were gods. And it says Franz Kafka remarked somewhere in the trial that justice wears the blindfold to conceal the fact that what eyes should be are two festering sores. Ooh, that's a bar right there. What was that again? Franz Kafka remarks somewhere in the trial that justice wears the blindfold to conceal the fact that what eyes should be are two festering sores. One could form the impression that reviewing Eddie O'Brien's experience in the justice system, as Miss Nash does. Wow. That's like, what do y'all think about that? Absolutely appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, rest in peace, Janet. Absolutely. First and foremost, but I really believe when Eddie gets justice, Janet will finally feel like Janet will get justice, and then she could rest in peace at that point. So we know a man with the keys to the house, right, involved in alleged drug activity, was seen entering the home frequently, right, and his cab was parked outside. The article, it argues that the police declined to interview witnesses, and it's witnesses that contradicted the police's theory, right? Neighbors who heard commotion when Eddie wasn't there. That's deep, man. I mean, this is the foundation of his claim that Eddie wasn't investigated, that Eddie was selected, right? The article ends up painting, right, DA Tom Riley, I think, as a politically ambitious, hungry for some high profile case, right, during a super predator era. Right? America was terrified of violent use back in the 90s. Everyone thought every kid was going to, like, hurt him and shit, and Riley personally tries the case. He grandstanded opportunity, and Eddie O'Brien. Riley had found what Tom Wolfe called the great white defendant. That is who would insulate Riley from charges of racism. So he took the unprecedented expedient of sitting Middlesex County DA personally trying a case. His first task was to get Eddie transferred to adult court. Many Somerville readers will remember Paul Hefferman, an exceptional jurist whom we were blessed to have in district court for many years. Despite Riley's insertion of unverified evidence, Hefferman ruled that Eddie must be tried as a juvenile. The next week, Samuel Zoll, Chief Justice of the trial court, called Hefferman to congratulate him for his decision integrity, but a week later, Zoll praised Hefferman of gathering political storm and told him that if he didn't change his decision, he would be removed from the case. And what did Hefferman do? He stood firm. So Riley appeals to the Supreme Judicial Court in a ruling, right, devoid of credible evidence, of sound reasoning. A political-sized SJC removed Hefferman, citing the need to eliminate controversies and unnecessary issues. What? Yo, that is like, I can't believe I just read that. I can't believe I just read that. Do you believe that there ain't room for anything else except for what's true? You know, so Riley personally tries the case, something that's friggin' unheard of, right? He portrayed Eddie as a friggin' sadist, despite no history of violence, right? That's probably why this content isn't getting pushed, because all the red rum, the sex, stuff, and I'm just reading the words all loud, and YouTube has an algorithm. So maybe I need to start changing them words, but despite no history of violence, so the article claims that Riley inserted unverified evidence, right? And Eddie's attorney was underprepared, absolutely. And he said he was financially strained, but they gave him like $170,000, and I'm like, O'Reilly was involved in a lot. How about them 7 unsolved crimes? He was involved in quite a bit. I bet there's skeletons all in his closet. The transfer hearing judge, right, who ruled that Eddie should stay in juvenile court, he was pressured, like the article just said. And then he was removed. So if they don't get the judge they want, they get his ass up out of there. And this is where the politics come in, right? And the article argues, right, that the SJC's decision to remove Hefferman was political, not legal. It wanted to eliminate the controversies. Riley needed a motive to convince a jury of Eddie's guilt, right? To free up the public. Eddie was 15 years old and had no history of violence, and whose football coach and judged him insufficiently aggressively. Nonetheless, Riley portrayed him as a sadist who had become obsessed with his best friend's mother. As testimony by potential jurors revealed that publicity was effective. Publicity was effective. So Judge Heffernan originally that ruled Eddie should be tried as a juvenile, right? He was praised privately for his integrity. Hey, good job, buddy. But then he was pressured. Listen, bro, you should reverse your decision. The guys upstairs are not happy. He was like, I don't give a rat's ass what they're not happy about. But when he refused, the big dogs, the SJC, they removed him. And now you got a new judge, right? Recused himself. A third judge, known for harsh rulings, finally transferred Eddie to adult court. So the next judge they got, he was like, nah, I'm straight. I don't want this. Because people were seeing what Riley was up to. How do you not see this playing out? Where's all the politicians from back then speaking up? Go talk to your grandfather. Tell him he needs to get on this podcast. Somebody in them offices know what was going on back then and knows it wasn't right. some of them retired assistant district attorneys knows what happened in this case and knows it wasn't right. Come on, somebody knows one of them people. Let's find them. Find somebody back then that's willing to talk. They say Eddie's defense was weak. We already know that. Bob George is weak. He didn't have good preparation time. He said he was broke. He was just an incompetent mess. And then Eddie convicted and sentenced to life without parole. And George says, because he was losing money, that he had to set a fixed price for the case, not anticipating the SJC appeal, 2 transfer hearings. Eddie's parents, right, they mortgaged their homes to the hilt, right? George had to pay George upwards close to $200,000, and they were tapped out. No snacks for Big Ed. You know what I mean? And he had a weak defense. And it was also the result of Bob George's gross incompetence. That's what the article says, Bob George, but we all know. And 27 months after the crime, right, Eddie was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. That even hurts to say. A sentence that no other nation on earth imposes on a minor. Is that crazy? America, what's up with you? Yo, what's up with that? No other nation on earth imposes life without the possibility of parole on a minor. I got to know what y'all think of that. Clip that. That shocked me. 5 years later, Robert George begins serving a sentence for money. He almost beat Eddie O'Brien to jail himself. Oh, we're going to have to break that down as well. So now Eddie's been in jail about 31 years. This was written. He had 22 years behind bars when this article was written. He says, by all accounts, he is positive and mentally healthy. He has daily contact with family and friends. And he's a great reader, that says. A maturing writer and is well informed regarding world events. He joins with others twice a week to say the rosary. Good for him. Recent SJC rulings could make Eddie eligible for parole, but he would have to admit to a crime that he did not commit, and he is unwilling to do so. Go check out one of my podcasts I did a few weeks back talking about the parole trap, how it's a trap, it's a setup. You got to check that episode out. Pretty lit. And at one time, the Boston College Law School, the Innocent Program, accepted Eddie's case for a review. And when he learned of this, Judge Heffernan, who is now 84 years old, said, I hope I'm alive to see him walk out of jail. We do too. We do too. Can we reach out to Hef? Imagine that. No, I can't believe no other country imposes that sentence on minors. I mean, that is crazy. I can't believe it. So the article ends by describing Eddie's life in prison and said it's very positive. He has great family support. He has good faith. He's very, very intelligent, and it closes with hope, that the Innocent Project may finally bring the case the review had never truly received. And I'll break down another time what happened with the Innocent Project. I have to get some more information on it. Yeah, Brutal USA, huh? That is like unbelievable that no other country does that. I mean, yeah, some of them probably do even worse, but the fact that they don't do life without parole for minors, um, some insist Eddie is guilty under this article, right? And the article is biased. Others argue that the investigation was flawed and politically driven. It says some defend witnesses, others call them liars. Some say the family is in denial, others say the DA was a creep and set him up. Just look at the evidence. It's not about, I don't think it's about the family being in denial. This case isn't just about guilt or innocent, right? It's about what happened when politics, fear, ambition, right? They crash with a kid like Eddie standing in a courtroom. What if he is innocent? You all won't even take the time to say, you know what, maybe he is. It's like you're so sure, but nobody can break down why you're sure.
Unless they were in their shoes.
Nobody, all they can say is, oh, because the jury convicted him. Grab yourself a membership before you run out the door. Hook your boy up. It's about a justice system, that protects power, more than they want to see what's true. And it sucks to think that our justice system does that kind of shit, I'm sure this question still is rummaging through Somerville all this time later. Did the system get it right? Right? Or did it find a convenient defendant? It sounds like you got a convenient defendant. You locked onto him right away within hours. It didn't take you long at all. Eddie's attorney was like friggin' useless. Witnesses that tried to give other information were ignored, right? Evidence didn't match Eddie, wasn't followed up. Right? Gina Mahoney, you don't want to talk to her because she don't fit your narrative. Virginia Reckley don't fit your narrative. And you just want to bully others trying to get the story out there. In a super predator era, a time when America wasn't terrified, was terrified actually of violent youth crime. I'm sorry, excuse me. And Riley personally trying the case, like, come on, people. You don't see what's right in front of you? Yep, just like Karen Reed. Absolutely. You see, the judge originally ruled Eddie should be tried as a juvenile, right? He was praised privately, right, for him having integrity, but then he was pressured to reverse his decision. And then he refused. And then the SJC said, all right, we'll remove him for you. And now you got a new judge, right, that stepped in. He recused himself. He was like, nah, I'm straight with this. I don't even want no part of this. Your office is out of control. And then they had to get a third judge, right? Known for harsh rulings, right? Yeah, this is the judge we want, Riley's saying. Finally. Then they get Eddie to adult court. And at that point, it's portrayed as a political storm. It's not a legal process now. It's a big effing storm, man. You know, and they knew that Eddie's defense was weak. Bob George didn't have enough time to prepare. He was bitching about money. No wonder, he was money laundering. What the hell? You know, he was an incompetent attorney. You know? And Eddie was convicted and sentenced to life without parole. Hey. To life without parole, damn cats. And no other country imposes on minors. That's what's crazy. And then the article, don't forget to mention, you know, Eddie's life behind bars, you know, what he was able to accomplish. Hey. You know, so Steady Eddie is extremely accomplished. Absolutely, man. Give me a minute, y'all. We'll be right back.
Justice for Eddie, justice for all. We'll rise
right, there we go. Let me get this down off the screen. Yes, so don't forget, if you can get out, August 7th, 351 Summer Street, Somerville, Mass. The George Dilboy VFW Pulse 529. And let's see. Just make sure it's not on the other computer. Absolutely, a lot to absorb. But I appreciate everybody today. All right, there we go. But yeah, everybody, appreciate you today, man. Let me say this, I think for the people, where you live, right? I think it should never determine whether your voice matters in the fight for justice, right? Massachusetts might be where I think Eddie's case happened, but America is where the injustice screams, it echoes. Can you hear me? There's the music loud. The injustice is just so loud everywhere, and I don't think you need a 617 area code to care, right? You don't need to be born in Somerville to see something is wrong there. You don't need to live in Massachusetts to stand up and say that this kid deserves a fair shot. This case deserves a real review, which it's going to get through a court system. Because justice, right? Justice it's not just local, it's not just in Massachusetts, or it's not in Essex County, or Middlesex County, or Suffolk, or any of them places. It's not regional. It's not owned by any state, right? It's not owned by any courthouse, by any community, right? It's national, right? Justice, it's national. Corruption, it's everywhere, right? It's a collective, it's all of us. And I think we all have to pull together, and you have to refuse to look away, refuse to let politics and egos, leave the egos at the door, and get together and bury the truth. And if somebody in California thinks they can help Eddie, good. If someone in Texas wants to speak up, that's what's up. If someone in Florida, Chicago, New York, and they want to push for change, that's what's up, man. You should never be mad because where they're from. Because I think injustice anywhere, right? Anywhere. I don't care where you are. Even in one courtroom. even in one case, it don't matter. It's all the same. I mean, this is a warning to everybody, right? Let me tell you something. Movements don't grow because people stay in their lane. They grow because people are crossing lines, right? They're crossing, they're getting out of their comfort zone. That's why this shit's growing, and I think I'm here to see what's happening, and not staying silent, right? So, to the people that be rocking with me, wherever you're watching from, you guys matter. Salute to you guys, man. I think your voice matters. The views will get up there. I ain't worried about that, man. Y'all support me just fine. Your outreach matters. I think you guys being compassionate matter. The people in this chat, they'll stand up for a kid who never got a fair chance. And that matters, I think, more than your zip code ever will matter. So I don't think this is a fight just for Massachusetts, right? I think this isn't an American thing, right? It's a human right thing. It's a justice thing, and this isn't directed at anybody in particular, but I think that we are louder than any courtroom together, right? They tried to silence the truth, we're definitely louder, man. Peace to everybody. Grab them memberships, gift them membership. Really appreciate it. Gift them membership for justice, man. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Shout out to y'all. See you soon. I'm gonna need them gifted memberships. I'm probably have to get a rental car to get all the way to Somerville, Mass, from where I'm at. My goodness, I'll be traveling. But shout out to y'all. We out of here. We'll see you very, very soon. From my people to yours, man. Be safe. If you want to hit up the Venmo at Can We Keep It Real, one word. Cash App at Can We Keep It Real, one word. If you have time to get a membership or gift a membership, the membership's the gift that keeps giving. Appreciate that. All right, man. I'm out of here.
Where the whispers play, the door of the frame holds the secrets of the day. Locked on to Eddie, they whispered his name. Caught in a tempest, a life gone insane. Down in the dark, where the sailor path runs, a set of keys hit the dirt under disappearing suns. A house key, a car key, lost in the rush. But the state swept it up like a hand in the crush. Eddie's freedom cry, can you hear it loud? roll thunder through the halls of despair. With strings and brass, they unite in the air. A symphony of chaos reflects in the night. The fight for Eddie grows bigger, takes flight. Beneath boundless skies, the walls start to shake. Each note of resistance, a wave in the wake. A revolution of honesty will cut through the lies. As the world turns its gaze, a new dawn will rise. So gather the voices who waited too long for Eddie O'Brien. We'll sing out strong. His freedom's a fire, lighting up the gloom. As the massive, triumphant chord brings truth to the room.
No more shadows, let the truth shine bright.
Yeah. You know where I stand. Yeah. You know where I stand. These walls echo my name, but they don't know my truth. Captured in a frame, but my spirit's bulletproof. Took my freedom away, but couldn't silence my call. That whisper in the night, I'm innocent after all.
I am still here. Hear my voice, can't you see?
I rise with the sun.
Can nobody bury me? I am still here. Hear my heart, can't you feel?
Truth runs deep within.
It's the only thing that's real.
Yeah. Counting down the years, but seasons on pause. Watch my dreams fade like light behind bars. Hope is my anchor, a lifeline in the storm. Warmed by time, but my spirit won't conform. They label me a ghost, but my heart's still alive. The weight of a crime that I never contrived. No truth could chain me, no lie could erase who I am inside. Rooted deep in this place.
Every sunrise whispers, justice will find a way.
I keep my head high.
Living for that day.
To those who believe,
Thank you for seeing me.
the man beyond the wall.
Longing to be free.
Refuse to let bitterness define my legacy. Instead I hold faith, letting hope set me free. One day these gates will swing wide, truth will walk with pride. And when that moment comes, I'll be standing side by side.
Until that day arrives, I stand tall in my fight. Keep saying who I am, voice echoing through the night. I carry my story, it's far from over now. A heart of resilience, I'll show you just how. I am he and he is me. I am innocent, you see.
My story's still being written.
One day I shall be free. I'll chase the dawn, I'll seek the light, I won't back down.
With every step